Think of the most basic, fundamentally worthless material you interact with every single day. The stuff you throw into recycling bins without a second thought. It is paper, cardboard, ink, and maybe a microscopically thin layer of foil. The physical cost to manufacture a standard trading card is measured in fractions of a cent. If you were to weigh it, the intrinsic value of the raw materials wouldn't even register on a commercial balance sheet. Yet, in 2021, a single piece of this exact same cardboard, bearing a picture of Patrick Mahomes, changed hands for $4.3 million. That is not a market anomaly. That is the entire business model. And once you understand how the mechanics of this industry actually operate, you realize that the sports card market hasn't been about sports or cards for a very long time. It is a highly sophisticated, multi-tiered financial engine dressed up in nostalgia, and it is quietly running one of the most brilliant, unregulated gambling operations on the planet. Before we get into the mechanics, I want to know one thing from you. What is the single best sports card you ever pulled out of a pack as a kid, and what did you think it was worth back then? I want the player, the year, and your childhood valuation, because somebody watching this had a binder full of Michael Jordans that their mother threw away, and they have never financially recovered. Put it in the comments below, and if you're already down there, hitting the like and subscribe button would mean the world to me. So, how do you turn pennies of paper into millions of dollars? You manufacture scarcity. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, your mental model of a trading card company is likely Topps. They printed millions of identical cards, stuffed them in wax packs with a stick of gum that would shatter your teeth, and sold them for 50 cents. The business was volume, but volume is the enemy of value. The crash of the junk wax era in the late 90s taught the industry a brutal lesson. If everyone has it, nobody wants it. The modern manufacturers, historically Panini and Topps, and now the monolithic giant Fanatics, do not sell volume anymore. They sell the chase. They do this through a concept called artificially limited parallels. They will take a standard card of a rookie quarterback, print it, and it will be worth maybe $2. Then they will print the exact same card, but this time the foil border is red, and they will only print 99 of them. Then a blue version limited to 50, a gold version limited to 10. And finally, the Holy Grail, the black one of one. There is only one in the entire world. It is stamped with a gold 1/1. The moment that stamp goes on the cardboard, the manufacturer has effectively printed a winning lottery ticket. But here is the genius part. The manufacturer doesn't sell you the winning ticket directly. They hide it inside a $1,500 sealed box of mostly worthless cardboard, and they let the market tear itself apart trying to find it. The manufacturers are operating a casino where they don't even have to pay out the jackpot in cash. The prize is just another piece of paper that other people have agreed is worth money. The margins are astronomical. When Panini puts a tiny square of a player's jersey into a card, a patch auto, they aren't paying retail for that jersey. Sometimes, as the fine print on the back of the card will quietly tell you, the material is not associated with any specific player, game, or event. It is just a piece of fabric. But because it is encased in thick cardboard and signed, it drives the price of the sealed box through the roof. To truly grasp the scale of this manufactured economy, you have to look closer at those signatures. When a collector pulls a highly coveted autograph card of a superstar, the mental image is one of prestige. You picture the athlete carefully taking a silver marker and signing a pristine piece of memorabilia. The reality is a sheet of transparent stickers. To mass-produce authenticity at an industrial scale, the card companies ship sheets of clear, holographic foil stickers to players. A rookie will sit in a sterile hotel conference room and mechanically scribble his name on 3,000 tiny stickers over the course of 4 hours for a flat fee. Those sticker sheets are mailed back to a printing facility, where a machine peels them off and slaps them onto the cardboard. The player never saw the card. The autograph is entirely divorced from the physical object it adorns. Yet, because that mass-produced sticker is suddenly attached to a piece of cardboard with a manufactured serial number, the card companies successfully commoditize the very concept of a human signature, buying it at wholesale and selling it at luxury retail. Which brings us to the corporate warfare that recently reshaped the entire landscape. For years, Panini held the exclusive rights to the NFL and NBA, while Topps held the MLB. It was a comfortable duopoly. Then, Fanatics arrived. Fanatics, a sportswear merchandising giant, didn't just want to compete, they wanted a monopoly. In a ruthless, Overnight boardroom blitz, Fanatics went directly to the players' associations and the leagues and bought the exclusive licensing rights out from under both Topps and Panini. Without the licenses, a trading card company is nothing. If you don't have the NFL license, you can't use team logos. You are forced to print pictures of quarterbacks in generic airbrushed pajamas. The market hates that. Recognizing they had effectively been checkmated, Topps allowed Fanatics to acquire them. Panini is currently locked in a bitter, existential legal death match with Fanatics. But the writing is on the wall. Fanatics now owns the printing presses, the licenses, and the primary distribution. But what does that primary distribution actually look like on the ground? This introduces the hidden middle layer of the industry, the one that operates with the ruthless efficiency of a protection racket, the distribution cartel. If you walk into a local brick-and-mortar card shop, you will see sealed boxes of premium product with jaw-dropping price tags. You might think the shop owner is gouging you. They aren't. They are victims of the allocation game. The manufacturers do not sell directly to the local card shop. They sell to massive regional distributors. If a highly anticipated product is releasing, every shop on Earth wants it. But the distributor will only give the shop an allocation of the good product if the shop also agrees to buy thousands of dollars worth of dead product that nobody wants. Baseball cards of minor league prospects, obscure collegiate sets, low-tier inventory sitting in a warehouse. The shop owner is forced to eat the cost of the unsellable junk just to get a handful of the premium football boxes. To make their money back, that local shop owner has to artificially inflate the price of the football boxes to cover their losses. The distributor gets paid, the manufacturer gets paid, and the local small business owner absorbs the entirety of the corporate retail risk. And this is where we have to address the boxes you see at the supermarket, the ones hanging on the pegs at Target for $30. If the local shops are getting squeezed out of the high-end products, what exactly is inside these retail boxes? The exact same cards, mathematically neutered. The manufacturers run two entirely different, strictly segregated production lines. The hobby boxes contain the guaranteed autographs and the low-numbered parallel cards that drive the secondary market. The retail boxes sent to the big box stores are filled almost entirely with worthless base cards. A father buying a $30 box for his son at the grocery checkout thinks he is buying a lottery ticket. He doesn't know he is buying a scratch-off that the manufacturer already programmed to be a loser before it left the factory. But even with a monopoly on printing and a stranglehold on distribution, a raw card pulled fresh from a pack is still an unfinished financial product. It needs validation. Imagine buying a stock, but before you can sell it, you have to mail the stock certificate to a guy in California to tell you if the paper it's printed on is perfectly centered. That is the secondary layer of the industry, the grading cartel. PSA, Professional Sports Authenticator, and BGS, Beckett Grading Services, are the gatekeepers of wealth in this hobby. When you pull a highly sought-after card, it exists in a state of quantum uncertainty. It might be perfect, or it might have a microscopic scratch on the chrome surface. A corner might be off by a fraction of a millimeter. The centering of the image might be 60/40 instead of 50/50. You take your card and you mail it to PSA. They examine it, seal it inside a tamper-proof sonic-welded plastic slab, and assign it a grade from 1 to 10. This number fundamentally alters reality. A raw, ungraded card might sell for $500. If PSA gives it a 9, it might be worth $600. But if PSA gives it a pristine 10, that exact same card could suddenly be worth $5,000. This creates a massive arbitrage opportunity, and the grading companies know it. They don't just charge a flat fee for their service. Oh no. They operate on a sliding scale based on the declared value of the card. If your card is worth $50, you might pay them $25 to grade it. If your card turns out to be worth $10,000, they will charge you hundreds or even thousands of dollars for the exact same physical labor of looking at it and putting it in a plastic case. They are effectively taxing your good fortune. And the grading itself? It is completely subjective. It is a human being in a warehouse staring at cardboard under a magnifying glass for a few minutes. People routinely crack open cards that received a PSA 9, resubmit them anonymously, and get a PSA 10. The difference is life-changing money, entirely dependent on whether the grader had a good cup of coffee that morning. Yet, the entire ecosystem accepts this plastic slab as absolute gospel, because without the illusion of objective perfection, the massive valuations collapse. But what happens to this highly engineered machine when liquidity suddenly floods the engine? To understand the absolute peak of this cardboard casino, you have to look at the great anomaly of 2020. When the world locked down, millions of people were trapped inside, deprived of live sports, armed with stimulus checks, and looking for an outlet. Influencers began loudly declaring that sports cards were no longer children's toys, they were an alternative asset class. The influx of money broke the grading cartel's infrastructure almost instantly. People were rummaging through their childhood closets, pulling out completely ordinary, mass-produced base cards and mailing them to PSA by the hundreds of thousands. They believed that the sonic-welded plastic slab was a magic wand that created wealth out of thin air. PSA's backlog rapidly swelled to over 10 million unexamined cards, forcing them to halt submissions entirely. This created the junk slab era. People were paying $50 to grade a piece of cardboard that, by the time it was mailed back to them over a year later, was only worth $15. But the grading companies didn't care. They had already collected their fees up front. The risk was entirely absorbed by the customer, who falsely believed they were acting as an investor. And speaking of investors, this is exactly where the financialization of the hobby reached its absolute dystopian zenith. As the prices of elite, highly graded cards skyrocketed into the millions, the average retail buyer was completely boxed out. But Wall Street never lets a lack of capital get in the way of a transaction. Enter the fractional ownership platforms. Companies emerged functioning exactly like traditional stock brokerages, but for memorabilia. They would acquire a single, highly coveted asset, say a $5 million vintage card. Then, they would legally file to turn that physical card into a company, split it into hundreds of thousands of digital shares, and sell those shares to the public for $10 each. You are buying a digital receipt on a phone screen that represents a microscopic fraction of a piece of paper that you will never physically hold. It sits inside a temperature-controlled vault in Delaware, while you check your app every morning to see if your cardboard stock went up by 12 cents. It stripped away the very last lingering illusion that any of this was about collecting. So, the manufacturers print the lottery tickets, the graders authenticate the winning numbers, and the fractional apps turn them into stocks. But how do you distribute a newly printed product that has become too expensive for the average person to actually buy? If a premium box of football cards, say, Panini National Treasures, costs $4,000 for a single box containing only 8 cards, the casual fan is entirely priced out. A father and son are not walking into a hobby shop and dropping $4,000 on 8 pieces of cardboard on a Tuesday afternoon. The product is stranded. Enter the final, and by far the most lucrative, rung on the ladder: the box-breaking industry. If you have spent any time on TikTok, Twitch, or YouTube late at night, you have seen them. A guy sitting in a room lined with expensive, sealed boxes, shouting at a camera, carefully slicing open packs with a scalpel while hip-hop plays in the background. This is how box breaking works. The breaker buys that $4,000 box of National Treasures. They know nobody will buy it whole, so they divide it up. An NFL box has 2 teams. The breaker sells spots in the break, one for each team, but they don't price them equally. The Houston Texans, who might have a highly anticipated rookie quarterback, will cost $500 for that spot. The Carolina Panthers, who have nobody of value, might cost $40. You pay your money, and you wait for the live stream. When the breaker opens the box, any card that belongs to a player on your assigned team goes to you. Do the math on this. You just paid $500 for the chance that one of the 8 cards inside that box happens to be a Houston Texan. If it's not, you get nothing. Zero. You just spent $500 to watch another man open a box on the internet. This is not collecting. This is unlicensed, unregulated, fractional sports betting. It taps into the exact same dopamine receptors as a slot machine. The bright lights, the anticipation, the slow reveal of the card by the breaker, the screaming when a massive hit is pulled. To pour gasoline on this fire, massive secondary market dealers will often place million-dollar bounties on specific one-of-one cards before a product is even released. They publicly announce they will pay $1 million in cash to whoever pulls the card. This isn't generosity. It is a calculated marketing expense. The bounty causes a frenzy. Gamblers flood the breakers, buying up spots at exorbitant prices, desperately chasing the million-dollar bounty. It is gambling, plain and simple. But because the payout is a piece of cardboard instead of fiat currency, it legally bypasses gambling regulations. The volume of money flowing through breakers is staggering. The top-tier breakers are moving tens of millions of dollars of inventory a year. They are the whales that keep the entire manufacturing ecosystem afloat. Panini and Topps don't care about the kid buying a $5 pack at Target. They care about the breaker buying 50 cases of high-end product at a time. The entire industry's pricing model has been restructured to cater exclusively to the breaking market. And Fanatics, the apex predator of this story, saw this too. They didn't just buy the printing rights. They launched Fanatics Live, their own dedicated streaming platform exclusively for box breaking. Why let third-party platforms like Twitch or YouTube capture the attention and third-party breakers capture the margin when you can own the factory, print the cards, host the live stream, and take a percentage of the break itself? It is the ultimate vertical integration of a dopamine loop. You watch the Fanatics live stream to buy your spot. The Fanatics contracted breaker opens the Fanatics printed box. When you win the card, you click a button on the screen, and Fanatics immediately sends it to a grading company they partner with. Once graded, it goes straight into a Fanatics-owned physical vault, while simultaneously being listed on a Fanatics-owned digital marketplace, generating perpetual transactional fees for a singular corporate monopoly every single time the digital receipt changes hands. When you lay the sequence out plainly, the sheer audacity of it is breathtaking. A company prints a picture of a man on a piece of paper for a few cents. They declare it is mathematically rare. They sell it in a sealed box at a massive markup to a distributor. The distributor forces a local shop to buy junk just to access it or sells it directly to a breaker. The breaker fractions out the box to 32 different gamblers who pay hundreds of dollars for a statistical fraction of a chance to win. The winner takes their prize and pays a grading company a percentage of its newly invented value to put it in a plastic coffin. And finally, it sits in a vault, traded back and forth between investors on an app, completely divorced from the sport it represents. Every single stage in that chain extracted massive, compounding profit from a product that cost virtually nothing to create. And the customer at the bottom of the funnel? The person who bought the spot in the break? Or the collector paying a 400% premium for a PSA 10 over a raw card? They believe they are participating in a hobby. They believe they are holding an asset. But just like the person dropping off clothes at the thrift store, they misunderstand their role in the machine. You aren't the consumer. You are the liquidity. You are the fuel that allows the printing presses to keep spinning, the graders to keep slabbing, and the breakers to keep screaming into their microphones. The cardboard is just the excuse for the transaction. If you found the mechanics of this interesting, drop a like and a subscribe. It genuinely pushes the algorithm and helps a lot. And if you want to know how other seemingly innocent industries are quietly operating massive financial machines right in front of you, the money and business playlist on this channel is right there. The one on how ticket scalping actually works from the inside is a great place to go next. See you in the next one.